Hello, everybody. It's been a while, but I'm back. I felt the nudge. I've been feeling the nudge to come back gently, sometimes not so gently, from the universe, the great divine. So here I am. In fact, the universe will often send me signs and signals, pushing me one way or another, or trying to give me a message through my thick skull. And the message these last couple of weeks has been one I haven't seen before. And so it took me a minute to figure out what it meant. But the signal that I've been seeing lately is a literal signal. It's been the bat signal from Batman. I've been seeing bat signals literally everywhere, in cars in front of me, on billboards, people mentioning it in the podcast I'm listening to. I'm like, okay, bat signal, got it. Like, got it, but don't get it. Like, what does that mean? So I dwelled upon it and didn't really get a response from the good Lord above. And so I went to my old buddy, ChatGPT, and I said, hey, listen, I've been getting a lot of weird signals from the universe lately. Can you try to interpret them for me and let me know what it means? I said, I've been seeing bat signals everywhere. What could that possibly mean? And ChatGPT responded by saying, well, that's a weird one. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. And ChatGPT said the bat signal could represent a literal signal from the universe calling me to action, calling Batman to action, saying, we need you, calling me out of my cave, out of the darkness, out of my despair, out of my loneliness, out of my solitude, out of my hermit mode that I've been in for however long I've been in it. Quite some time. Feels like eons, but it was probably just months. Feels like forever, but that response had actually brought me to tears. I had bat tears flowing out of my bat eyes. It was all very symbolic to that it's time to come out. It's time to play, that it's time to become who I'm meant to become. Maybe that's literally Batman. I've been looking on Amazon for towels and capes. Maybe I'm meant to become Batman, guys. I don't know. Never really been a crime fighter, but I'm open to it. I'm open to it. But it's very symbolic, as it often is, just meaning it's time to come out of the darkness. And for these last few months, even arguably these last few years, I've been in the darkness. And using my sonar, I don't know, whatever the frick bats use, guys. I'm not a zoologist. Using their special powers to see through the dark and metaphorically to allow God to help me through that darkness and out of that darkness. One step at a time, not knowing what's ahead, not knowing where the exit to this freaking cave is, but just to follow the divine's voice, the divine sonar, allowing me to exit the cave and become who I'm meant to become. It's all very deep. It's brought me to tears. Maybe you're crying now. I don't know. So that's where I'm at. And oftentimes I discover that the thing keeping me back is fear, which is definitely a component of it. But that's what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about all of the things that have been keeping me from becoming who I'm meant to become, keeping me from my destiny, keeping me from my purpose and meaning in life, which is creating content. That's why I'm here today. That's why I showed up today with my metaphorical cowl and cape on, ready to fight, not crime, but perhaps to fight my fears, right? And so today I'm showing up, not knowing where it's leading, what's next, but I'm just showing up and ready to follow where that holy sonar leads me, not knowing what's next, not knowing the way out of this thing, not knowing what I'm going to do tomorrow, but I'm just showing up today. And so that's what I'm going to talk about is what has kept me, those fears that have kept me locked in place these last few months, several months, and how I'm working my way out of that by doing things like this. And let's get into it. Part of it, what has kept me back, has been trying to achieve perfection, whatever that means in my mind, right? Whatever my mind is telling me. Because that voice in my head, which, as many of you know, I call Hal has been keeping me locked in place, stuck in this cave, not venturing out, telling me I'm not ready yet, telling me I'm not good enough yet, telling me I'm not prepared yet, right? As I'm sure Bruce Wayne dealt with when he was making the transition to Batman. I'm sure that was a strange transition for him. Saying, like, wait, you want me to dress up like a bat and fight crime to become my true self, to fulfill my destiny? Like, I don't know about that. That sounds a little crazy. I don't know if that's actually what I'm meant to do. And I'm sure there was a period where Bruce Wayne had to think about it, right? Had to really question his own sanity, first of all, but question whether or not that was the right direction to take or not. And so that's sort of where I'm at now. I'm sort of in this limbo, in this liminal space between the old chapter of my life and the new chapter of my life. And it's kind of exciting, but also mostly terrifying, right? And so I'm sort of on the edge, this cliff where I'm ready to take a leap and to dive in whole hog on this thing, but I'm not quite ready. And so that's what this video is about, is me just diving in, right? And trying to get myself to a place mentally where I'm ignoring ignoring those fears, and trying to push through that and move through that so that I can become what I'm meant to become. When my mother was a child, she was a child model. She was always the pretty one in the family. And she always dealt with, I'm speaking for her. I'm not actually in her head, but I'm assuming that there was some of this. That's why I'm going to talk about it today. I assume that she felt this high bar, this high standard in her life, where her mother made sure that every hair on her head was perfect at all times. She always had to look perfect. She always had to dress perfect. She always had to act perfect in front of other people in order to be beautiful, whatever that means. And so, unintentionally so, I'm sure, my mother raised us in the same way, where everything had to be perfect. We had to behave well in front of others. We had to, when we went to somebody else's house, we had to be on our best behavior. Before we showed up to people's houses, we would make sure that our shirts were all ironed, and she would take a brush out and make sure our hair looked perfect, because that's how she was raised. And I'm not dogging on her. I'm not criticizing her. I'm just trying to set the table here and explain a little bit of why I tried to achieve that perfection in my life. So part of the reason that I disappeared for so long from creating content was because I was trying to achieve perfection before I came back, right? As many of you know who've been following me, I've been struggling with addictions most of my life, my adult life. And so I disappeared from creating the podcast. I disappeared from creating content for a while because I was like, you know what? I'm going to go into my cave. I'm going to go into my cocoon and I'm going to transform. I'm going to transform and I'm not coming back. I'm not making videos until I'm a beautiful, beautiful butterfly or bat, whatever analogy you want to use, right? I'm not coming out until I'm beautiful and perfect and transformed. And then I can come back victoriously and celebrate and say, look at me now, guys. Look how beautiful I am, right? And so this last year really has all been about my transformation. I just this week, actually, I celebrated my 1 year sobriety from marijuana. So pat on the back for me. I've just recently celebrated again 6 months of sobriety from alcohol. So pat on the other back. Wait, I got two backs. Let's pat on my shoulder. I got two shoulders. Just pat me, guys. I just want to be patted like a sweet little dog, like Chi Chi. So I'm celebrating sobriety and I'm like, okay, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost ready to create content again because I'm almost perfect, right? All I need to do is quit drinking coffee. And about 6 or 9 months ago, who the hell knows? Time is an illusion. But a while ago, I was trying to quit coffee. And after about a week of quitting coffee, I was like, this sucks. I'm really struggling. I'm having a hard time with it. And my roommate takes nicotine pouches. He was like, hey, while you're out driving Uber, he used to drive for Uber. So he's like, hey, these nicotine pouches really helped me when I'm out on the road to keep awake and alert. So, like, maybe you should, since you're quitting coffee, like, try these nicotine pouches. And I waffled. I was like, I don't know about that. I know they're quite addicting from from what I've heard, but I really am struggling staying awake while trying to eliminate coffee. So maybe I'll just take a few nicotine pouches here and there, and eventually I'll kick it once I, stabilize. And now here I am 6 or 9 months later, and I've got like, a mouthful of nicotine pouches, like a squirrel puts nuts in his mouth. I got all these nicotine pouches. And of course, I can't chill when it comes to things that I'm addicted to. I've never been that person. I can never just have one beer. I want to have the entire case of beer. And if there's another case in the fridge, like I'll take that too. I'm going to be blacking out tonight. So part of me knew better than to travel down that road and bring nicotine into my life. But here I am. And so I thought, okay, I got to kick coffee. I got to kick nicotine. I got to get in shape. I got to eat healthier. I got to start exercising. I got this very long list that Hal has prepared for me, all of the things that I need to do in order to become perfect enough, good enough, worthy enough to resurrect myself and come out from the ashes like the mighty phoenix and rise and say, look what I've done. I've achieved perfection. But what I've learned is that every time I cross something off of that list that Hal has given me, another thing magically appears on the list. Like, okay, great. You stopped smoking weed. Good for you. Now we got something else for you to work on. I'm like, what? Hold on a second. That wasn't the deal. That wasn't what I signed up for. I had a list. I'm knocking these things off the list, and now you're adding more stuff to the list. And then I would knock alcohol off the list, and then I'd knock caffeine off the list, and then more things got added to the list. And I was like, hold on a sec. this is this is not working for me. And so these last couple of months, I've been going through this period where I'm wrestling with the list, right? And talking to God, because a part of me thinks that I need to be good enough for God, that I need to be good enough for the divine. And once I'm worthy in front of God, then I will have all these blessings come into my life. Then I will be able to live my dream life. Then I will finally be happy and have satisfaction. But I don't feel happy and I don't feel satisfied. That list is not working for me. And so, in many crying sessions and deep prayer with the good Lord above, I'm learning to realize that I will never be perfect, right? I will never be that perfect little Matthew with perfectly combed hair and perfectly ironed shirt and perfect behavior. That's not going to happen. In fact, all these roadblocks that I put in front of myself, that Hal puts in front of me, and I gleefully accept, right? Like, one roadblock to creating this podcast, like I've said, is trying to be perfect and trying to get to this place of perfection, is making excuses for myself. I make all of these excuses, right? Not just trying to quit this or quit that, but for example, today, I mean, I've been being nudged by God to create again and record these videos again. And an example of one of those excuses is I was going to record today, and the excuse that popped into my head was, well, I'm getting a haircut tomorrow, right? Because I got this mop on my head. And so I thought, like, well, Hal's telling me, why don't you want to look good for the video, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, I want to look perfect, actually. So if we can achieve that, let's do it. So Hal's like, well, we're getting a haircut tomorrow. So why don't we just wait until tomorrow and we'll record the video tomorrow with your fresh, handsome haircut. And you can impress everybody that's watching, and you'll look your peak handsome, and then we can record. So I had to slap Hal in the mouth today and say, shut the hell up, bro. We're doing it today. Like, I don't care what my hair looks like. I don't care. Like another excuse is I use this, I use fancy backgrounds, and I want to make it look as perfect as I can for the podcast. And I felt like, you know what? We're going to do it in my car. We're going to do it in my car today just to show Hal that I'm in charge around here. The house not running the show. I don't need to have a perfect background. In fact, I'm sitting here in my car, as you can see. I'm in the hellish landscape known as Arizona, so I've got the air conditioning on, and Hal's telling me like, "Well, the audio's not going to be very good because you got the air conditioning on, and they're not going to be able to hear you as good. You might as well record it tomorrow. You can do it at home." And on and on and on. And the list of excuses gets longer and longer, and more items get added to that list. I got a lot of lists. And so what I'm learning to do is take those lists, crumple them up, throw them into the fire, and say, fuck you, we're doing this. We're doing this. We're just going to do it. And so I've, I've been driving for Uber lately, and I've had several young men, 20-year-old or so men, who will talk to me about their life and how they're struggling and they don't know what to do. They have no purpose in their life. They have no meaning in their life. They're working at some dumb job that they hate, and it's not what they want for their life. And the advice that I give them and the advice that I give my children is to pursue your passions and to do what lights your heart on fire, right? To do what, and not to get too deep, but to do what is part of your purpose and meaning in this lifetime. And so if working at some 9 to 5 job is not doing it for you, do what you can to get towards that path that you believe you're meant to be on, right? And that might change over time. A year from now, 5 years from now, that path might divert or change. But the advice that I give them and the advice that I give my kids and the advice that I haven't been listening to, that I often give to myself that I haven't been listening to, is to just take a step in that direction, right? And so that's part of why I'm making this video today, is because I'm taking my own freaking advice and just taking a step in that direction, because I truly believe that this is part of my purpose and destiny in my life, is to be creating this content. Because not only is this content, I believe, meant to be heard by people like yourself. Hi, I see you. But also it's useful for me. It's useful to work through the shit that I'm working through, to talk about it. Because these last several months, this last year, really, I just celebrated sobriety, but I also just celebrated 1 year in Arizona. And I'm not putting on the party hat because I absolutely hate it down here, but that's for another episode. Um, but it's to work through my shit. And so part of that perfection thing that I'm talking about is, in the back of my head when I first started making these videos, was I wanted to sort of be my ego, if I'm being honest with you, my ego wanted to be some sort of a spiritual teacher or spiritual guru or whatever you want to talk about it, and to be on the mountaintop and say, these are all of the wise things that I've learned in my life. These are the lessons that I've learned. And now I've achieved perfection. And now I've achieved enlightenment, and I have all of the answers. And I learned a while ago that that is certainly not the case. My life is fucked up. I am fucked up. I am imperfect. And that's part of the beauty of a cult of misfits, is I'm a misfit, right? And perhaps you are too, and that's why you're drawn to watching this video. So cheers to us. Cheers to the misfits. I think the secret sauce to a cult of misfits is me talking about the real shit in my life, right? And I am no guru. I am no spiritual teacher. And I think the secret sauce is me talking about how imperfect I really am. But I think what's important for my own self, for my own life, and perhaps what you may be getting out of it, is how I'm overcoming these things, right? How I'm working through these things. I have a little napkin on standby in case I start crying. So that's what the sunglasses are for, so to hide the shame of my tears. um, we'll just use the sausage fingers to wipe a couple away. So this is useful for me, and perhaps it's useful for you to hear this. working through this shit. So I believe this is part of my destiny. And Hal will often tell me that I'm not there yet, that there's this mystical door that hasn't opened yet, and that mysterious door won't open until I'm good enough. That door won't open until God views me as being worthy enough, and then the light will come down from the heavens, and the doves will fly into the sky victoriously, and the door will whip open, and I'll step into my new life and step into the next chapter gloriously triumphant. And God's been telling me that that door doesn't exist. And maybe you need to hear that. I don't know. I needed to hear it. That door doesn't exist. It's invented by Hal. It's invented by the enemy. It's invented by that voice in your head, keeping you stuck, keeping me stuck. And so I'm always trying to achieve the door opening, right? I'm always trying to do things on that list that are getting me to a place where that door will finally pop open. And so lately, the divine's been telling me that there is no door. That's just a product of my imagination. And that the next chapter begins whenever I want it to begin. The next chapter begins when I can get myself out of that place of being frozen in place with my feet on the ground, too scared to head towards my dreams, too scared to head towards my destiny, too scared to exit that cave and become who I'm meant to become. And so I don't know what direction I'm meant to be heading. And so I'm just heading in a direction. I'm taking one step forward, one step at a time. And that's what this video is. This is my first step forward in months. And it feels good. It feels good. I'm still a little trepidatious. I'm still a little scared, but that's what this is about, is facing my fears and heading in a direction towards the next chapter that I want for my life. And I believe this is what I'm meant to be doing. And I can't head in that direction staying put, frozen in fear. And so here I am. I just recently watched the movie The Odyssey, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I highly recommend it if that's your sort of thing. I took my oldest kid, who's 12, and he's super into ancient mythology of all sorts, just like me. So we have a lot of great conversations about religion and spirituality, and he loves to dive deep, just like his papa. And so we have a lot of great conversations, and I wasn't sure if he would like it because it's 3 hours long and it's kind of this epic movie. Um, just a little side note, because I'm kind of a film buff. It was the first feature-length film done on IMAX, which is incredible. And so we saw it on the IMAX because we got to see it in its proper format, and it was absolutely amazing. The IMAX cameras can only film 3 minutes of film at a time, and so Christopher Nolan, the director, he had IMAX create a special IMAX machine just for him in this movie, because the IMAX films, the machine is extremely loud. And so he had them dampen the sound, create a special machine just for him. But he filmed the entire movie 3 minutes at a time. And so it's just kind of crazy to think about, right? He filmed this 3 hour movie 3 minutes at a time. Then they got to reset the film, start the scene over again. So incredibly difficult for the actors and everybody on the set. But anyways, just a little cinematic side note for you. But anyway, great movie, but it had a lot of symbology behind it that really resonated with me that I want to talk about. Because this last year that I've been in Arizona, I felt very lost. And if you're not familiar with the story of Odysseus, roughly speaking, he goes out on a voyage, goes out on a journey. It's the hero's journey, if you're familiar with that. And it goes on this series of misadventures and has trials and tribulations, and he gets very, very lost, and spends years bouncing around with his crew, ends up losing all of his crew, spends time on islands and can't figure out how to get home. But the whole time, the whole story is Odysseus wants to go home, right? And so it resonated with me big time because of the journey that I've been on for the last 6 years of living out of my car and bouncing around from house to house and staying with people, sleeping on couches, the kindness of people's hearts opening up to me, opening their houses to me, bouncing around from house to house. I felt very much like Odysseus, where this is great, this is temporary, but I just want to go home. And I mean that literally and figuratively. Like, there's a part of me that wants to go back home to Washington because I just can't stand it down here in Arizona. And so I want to go home literally, but also figuratively. And I've been thinking about what home means for me. Like, what does that mean to go home? And to go home is to go back to my roots, to go home to partly who I once was, but that's in the past. And I don't want to go back to that in terms of old Matt. Me and my kids refer to old Matt as Fat Matt because I lost a bunch of weight years ago. And so I did used to be quite rotund. And so Fat Matt just sort of represents the old me, the guy that I'll make another episode about it because I do want to talk about it more in depth about Fat Matt, but just old versions of myself, right? The guy that was very reactive, the guy that had a temper and anger issues, the guy that was struggling with his addictions, struggling with victimhood, et cetera, et cetera. But um, I just want to go home. I just want to go back to, I just want a place of my own. I've been living with other people for years now. And so I want a place of my own. I want to, metaphorically, I want to go back to creating these videos again and starting from a fresh foundation because I feel like these last several years has been about me building a foundation for this next chapter of my life, building this foundation of solidity, of balance, of stripping away things in my life that no longer serve me, not achieving a perfect foundation, which is what I previously was working towards, but achieving this foundation of stability in my life, internally, I mean, and mentally and spiritually, where I can build this new metaphorical home on a sturdy foundation. Because this next chapter of my life is going to require that. All these instabilities in my life, all of these things that no longer serve me are not going to serve me in the next chapter, and they're sort of not allowed. They're not, I got to drop them all at the gate, and not meaning that I drop everything because that would be perfection, but just to get myself to a place of this stability where I can start building upon this foundation I've been working on for the last 6 years. And the person that I am today and the person I was 6 years ago are so radically different. It's not even funny. And I have to be reminded by the divine to be kind to myself and to remind myself of how far I have come and how strong I am now and how resilient I am now and um, how I am ready for this next chapter because the voice in my head will often tell me I'm not ready and I'm not good enough, like I've said. And so I've been trying to remind myself this week specifically that I am ready, hence this video, that I am prepared enough, that I have gotten myself to a place where I'm ready to begin this next chapter. And in Odysseus, he ends up towards the end of the story, he ends up on um, Calypso's island for 7 years. He gets trapped there. And at the end, he realizes he's ready to leave and he wants to go home. And so his ship has been shattered on the shore of Calypso's island. And he just has, pieces of wood and rope just shattered across the beach. And so what he does is he takes those old remnants of his old ship and laces them together with rope and forms this jury-rigged raft. And he says, "Peace out. I'm out of here. I'm ready to go home." And he hops on this makeshift raft, and by himself, at this point, he's lost everything. He's lost all of his, spoiler alert, 2,000 years later. If you haven't read the story, that's not my problem. That's on you. That's on you, bro. Um, he's lost everything. He's lost his family is at home. He hasn't seen them in years. He's lost all of his friends and shipmates, and he's completely alone. And he laces together the ship and he hops on and shoves out to sea, and he's just waiting for Poseidon or the gods to let the wind take him where he's meant to go, and eventually he ends up at home. So I feel like this is the point I'm at in my life now, where I'm sort of taking these shards of what once was in my life, these broken shards of my heart and these pieces, broken pieces of my old life that once was, and I'm gathering them up and putting them together and lacing them together and saying, we're doing this. We're gonna head home now. And so that's what this is about for me, is taking those old pieces of my life and making a little raft and letting God take me where he wants me to go. And I believe that this is the path home, finally. Whatever that means, right? God knows my heart, and I want what God wants, and God wants what I want. That's a message that came to me a while ago, and I keep repeating it to myself because it soothes me at night when I'm curled up in a corner of the room, crying myself to sleep every night. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I need some ruby slippers. I need some ruby slippers. I'm going to start clacking them together. Just get me back home. So I'm taking these shattered pieces of my life, and this video is metaphorically me putting together a raft, and like, we're doing this thing. We're heading where I'm meant to head, and we're heading home, and it feels good. And I don't know where the winds, the divine winds, are going to take me, but I have a feeling it's home. Whether that's literal home, I don't know if I'm going back to Washington or going to Kansas. I have no idea, or Ithaca. I don't know what God has in store for me, but I know that I have to remind myself that this week I now finally know that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Even at times when I look around at my life and it's not where I want to be, not where my mind or my ego or Hal says I should be at this time, I have to remind myself that I'm exactly where God wants me to be. And looking back at this chapter of my life, looking back at this specific moment in time of my life, I will see the fuller picture and see, like, oh, I had to go through those things. I had to be bounced around from island to island all of these years. I had to lose everything in my life for years so that I could finally go home. And when he comes back, he returns to his throne. He returns to his kinghood. He puts that crown back on his head metaphorically and reclaims his house and reclaims his family and reclaims his wealth, right? The Bible talks about people like Job, where Job had everything stripped from him, went through horrific trials and tribulations, and in the end, God repaid him for his faith and trust with twice as much, 10 times as much, 50 times as much, which God has promised me at the beginning of this very, 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 very long journey that I've been on. I like to think of myself as the hero. I don't feel like a hero today, but I'm sure at some point I will. This journey that I've been on, God has promised me, and I have no doubt in my heart that all will be restored 10 times, tenfold, 20-fold, 100-fold. And I don't know what that means, and I don't know what that looks like, but I trust it's coming. And so this is me having faith and trust in the unseen, in divine timing, and a divine plan for my life. And these trials and tribulations absolutely suck when you're going through them, as I am now. I would have much rather recorded this video on the other side of the trials and tribulations and said, hey, I made it, guys. But again, that's what a cult of misfits is about. That's what I want it to be about, is sharing the struggles, the trials and tribulations, so that I can look back personally as a diary of sorts, but also to show you what it looks like, what the struggle looks like, and how eventually I will triumph over it, whether that's my addictions or dealing with the horrors of Arizona. But I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, and perhaps you need to hear this, and whether or not you believe it now, let it soak in. You as well are exactly where you are meant to be, even though you look around at your life and be like, this is not where I want to be. That's not what I'm saying. You're exactly where you're meant to be for purposes of growth and giving you strength and giving you resilience that you will need for the next chapter. And when you look back on this chapter in your life, you'll say, oh, okay, okay, I get it now. I get it. And then you'll get down on your knees like I do and say, thank you. All right, thanks, God. Thanks. I didn't get it at the time, but like I get it now. I had to go through those things. And now I see why. I can't now because I'm still in the cave, but I'm making my way out. And yes, I'm bumping into some walls like a clumsy oaf. I'm getting scrapes and bruises, and it sucks. And I just want to get out of this freaking cave. But this is how I'm getting out of the cave. And perhaps you could do something in your life to take steps towards getting out of the cave yourself, right? And then at some point, this just occurred to me. It came to me, thanks God, that cave will become less scary as you work your way through it and out of it and back into it. Because Batman makes the cave his base of operations at some point, right? Where it's not scary. That's now his home. And it's about becoming comfortable in the uncomfortable, right? About becoming comfortable in that darkness. I was going to say, I don't know where that came from, but I know exactly where it came from. And it wasn't me. Becoming comfortable in that cave of darkness, becoming comfortable in that solitude, stripping away that fear so that because the darkness is going to come again. It always comes. It always comes back. And it's about becoming so comfortable in it that it doesn't shake you to your foundation, your core, and freak you out and spiral you into, a depressive pit, which I can speak of personally. So that when that darkness comes again, it doesn't rock you. You'd be like, okay, I've been here before. Now I'm stronger. Now I'm more resilient. I know what the cave looks like now. I've been in and out of it 5,000 times. I'll leave you with this. So I want to end with a story. Before I recorded this video, I went and got a car wash, and I've got Chi Chi, my sweet little dog, in the car. And we entered the car wash, and he was scared out of his sweet little mind. He had no idea what was going on. There's jets and water spraying and soap everywhere and brushes against the door. And he had no idea what was going on. And so I pulled him over onto my lap, and I was like, it's okay, bud. It's okay, Chi Chi. It'll be okay. I mean, he's on my lap shivering so hard. I feel like his bones are going to break, but he doesn't know what's going on. He's never been in a car wash before. And I feel like this is what God does to us. God is holding us gently, saying it's going to be okay. God knows that the car wash is only 3 minutes long, but I have no idea. Chi-Chi has no idea what's going on. It could last forever. It could last a year. What's going on? It's scary, and my world is collapsing, and I have no idea what's happening, and how long is this going to be? And right? And so just a reminder, I had to remind myself that we are looked after, we are loved dearly, and the good Lord knows how long this car wash is going to be. So if you're in a rough chapter of your life like I am, it's not going to last forever. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll be out of this car wash before we know it. So with that, that's all I've got. Love you.